welcome back to season 4, I think we are, of Room 1-on-1 from the Homeboys. Third game of the season, but my first one back myself. And what a way to return with a fan's favourite. So as Celtic return the favour and host our Edinburgh rivals Hibs in the League Cup this weekend, I am delighted to welcome back Mark Strachan. Well, Mark, how do I find you, pal?
I'm well. A wee bit happier than I was an hour ago.
Right, okay. No, I'm sure we'll come to that. To that in due course. Right. So, on this podcast, we're going to touch on last Sunday's match and this Sunday's match. But as we've now seen Hibs already, we'll kind of no labour on the usual information overload, but we'll get a general idea of where the club is. So, last season, European adventure started with a defeat in Andorra in July, finished with defeating Birmingham in August, disposing of Interclub de Escaldes 7-3 in aggregate, overcoming that 2-1 defeat that I just spoke about. A great 4-2 win over Swiss side Luzerne, and then a humbling, if not surprising, 8-0 aggregate battering after Aston Villa. Throw in league defeats and Lee Johnson was gone. David Gray, we'll go to him in a minute. He stepped up again before Nick Montgomery replaced Johnson. League form picked up, but from around December onwards, the season can be best described as patchy. Finishing in the bottom half of the league meant that Hibs finished in 8th place. 38 games played, 11 wins, 13 draws, 14 defeats, 52 scored, 59 conceded, -7 goal difference, 46 points on board, 2 behind Aberdeen and 3 ahead of Murrow. League Cup home wins over Raith Rover and St Mirren before a semi-final 1-0 defeat to Aberdeen at Hampden in November. And then Scottish Cup away wins over Forfar and Inverness before a quarter-final 2-0 reverse to Rangers in March, ending cup competitions for the season. So, I know you would kind of want to dismiss it. Thoughts on last season, mate?
Yeah, it was a horror for us. I think I'd alluded to it last season when we talked that I wasn't sure where we were going. We're in permanent transition, which is quite frustrating as a fan. Probably right down to the fact, we're treated as like football manager by one of our owner's sons, and that's the core of it. And so we keep changing things, trying new ideas, testing out rookies, whatever they might look like, given our current situation. Summary was, I went to all the European trips. I think everybody knows I follow Hibs home and away and rarely miss a game. And it was great. The win in Switzerland was superb, and you start thinking, here, we maybe turned a corner. Most football fans recognise that one. The thumping by Villa wasn't that bad. It was worse at Easter Road. But
yeah, I'd agree with that. I would agree with that.
We gave them a game down there, and obviously those of we do carry a big support when they can be bothered, and we took a big support down there, and it was great. Okay, we lost, but I thought we represented Scotland quite well that night. I was delighted to see Johnson go. He was an arsehole of a man, and you'll notice he's lost his job subsequently after only a few short weeks in another role, and he's a slaver. He just didn't know what he was talking about. I interviewed him for the website that I represent, Hibs, the Bounce, and the pre-season last year, and it was only about himself. He wasn't interested in my football club, so I'm glad to see the back of him. Montgomery, it was too big for him. Simple as that. I know maybe Celtic fans wonder about Hibs, but we're a big club, and he wasn't. He just didn't get it. I mean, he kind of liked the guy, I could see, and obviously where he's went to work for Postecoglou at Spurs now. He's got a good job.
All right, I never knew that.
He's one of the first team coaches at Spurs almost right away. Interestingly, you do wonder what gets talked about, But and he never got it, and his football was awful, and he was chasing the crowds away. Although I should point out, although we were bottom 6, and frankly I felt we would deserve to be, we were better than Aberdeen, that's for sure. And we were only bottom 6 by 1 minute, because we were winning 1-0. Motherwell scored in the last minute of the game, equalised it, put us at the bottom 6. So, it was close. But if anything, it was good because it put Montgomery on a sugary peg. And I think, much as I hate seeing people lose their job ever, right? Well, apart from Lee Johnson, to be honest with you, anybody at Rangers, but generally, I don't like seeing folk lose their jobs. But I was kind of glad to see the back of him because it needed a fresh broom, and we'll talk about what that fresh broom might look like. But it certainly needed us to press restart, and we can talk about the restart because we have made some subtle changes which are starting to show a bit of fruition. Although I think this is another year of transition, and a lot of Hibs fans are frankly sick of it. You would have noticed the empty seats at the weekend. That's a reflection on how many season ticket holders haven't renewed.
Right.
And folk don't see it because we're a big, it looks quite full, and that's because you've got your day trippers on days like we play Celtic. But in fact, the two ends on the main stand were empty. Behind the goals was surprisingly full, but I think it's because we were playing you and there was a lot of tourists in town. So there's a bit of a worry there. I know people that haven't renewed, and guys are like me, just go to the football. It's part of your habits, isn't it? Particularly the guys who go to home games only, and some of them have just said I'm not going back. And so another transition season, but it only takes a couple of wins for people. Football's fickle, isn't it?
Of course it is.
I'm still positive. I go to the football, it's my thing. So and there's loads of guys like us as well, and nowadays loads of women like us as well. It's great that folk that do go. I had a chat with a good female friend of mine who I'll tell you about it later, but she's as Hibs staffed as me, and there's still loads of us that have a good attitude towards it all, but it's a bit of a worry because you just feel we're watching that lot across the road in Edinburgh from us spending money that other folk give them, that gives them that advantage and kind of leaving us behind a bit, and that's not how I want it to be. So
it's interesting because in my research for kind of me and you sitting chatting, because I know you like to pick things up and go with it, and that's absolutely brilliant for me, but I never really dipped into the kind of ownership side of it, because I'm sure we spoke about it in the past. However, it was interesting, and I'd like to pick up again in it later on. But so you've been the absolute perfect example of knowing what they're doing on these pods. You've already covered my question about Nick Montgomery. I'll ask you the next question. What about David Gray? What was your thoughts on that?
Personally, if he thinks he's up for it, he gets my back in, because David Gray is what Billy McNeil is to Celtic fans, right? Hibs fans, we love him, we adore him. That goal, we can never forget. He came to us when we were on our knees. He was Stubbs' first signing. He helped Hibs get good again. So how can you dislike that man? My fear is the fans will turn against him if things don't go right, as others further up the stairs hide behind their corporate noise. And I hate that. Is my greatest fear is that any Hibs fan could ever. I've already had a couple of bickers with ones who have started saying it's the manager's fault, half a dozen games into his managerial career. You can't look at him in isolation. He's got some good guys around him, which is great. He's brought his own people in, which I like. Samson was at Hibs before with Jack Ross. He's come back from Aberdeen to us. Although he's no link to Hibs, he's obviously Gray's man. We've brought in Liam, forgot his second name, the St Johnson player that played for Hibs, Liam Craig. So I believe they got on because of all the coaching badges they've done together. So you've got to give these guys, and Eddie May and Gareth Evans and Boozy and all the Hibs people in the background who are proper Hibs people. You got to give them a chance, but I just fear for the worst. And then there's Mackay up the stairs as well. Obviously, he has got managerial experience, and I'm sure we'll talk about him, but he plays a major influence in, I think, how Hibs go forward. I suspect. So I'm happy to support David Gray because David Gray is my hero, and I didn't have heroes. I'm a grown man, but if you're going to get one, it was Pat Stanton, David Gray, or Mackie's Paul Weller. They're the only people I've considered like that, and so I hope the Hibs fans stick with him and give him a chance. You can see what he's trying to do. It's much better already. Unfortunately, because of other things I'm sure we'll talk about, it's going to be a long journey.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
interesting, really interesting, mate. Right, okay, we'll do the usual palaver here. I'll fucking list off a million guys. Right, ins and outs. Right, so Adam Lafondre, the veteran 37-year-old striker, left and headed homewards to FC United in Manchester. With over 1,000 appearances between them, Paul Hannon and Lewis Stevenson both ended the spell with the club and joined Wraith Rovers. B-team player Jacob Blaney joined Crusaders. Scotland international keeper David Marshall finished his career and retired. 22-year-old midfielder Dylan Tate rejoined Falkirk after a loan full-time. And English keeper Joe Wallacott ended a year spell in Edinburgh and left for Crawley Town. Former Celtic player Ewan Henderson departed the club for around 150 grand and joined Beerschot in Belgium after a loan at Ostend last season. And finally, Dan Mackay, the 23-year-old left winger, after 3 loans, eventually departed the club for Partick Thistle. Loans out, Murray Johnson, Murray Aitken, both joined Airdrie. Kyle McClellan to Coleraine, Oscar McIntyre, John Queen of South, Malik Zaid to Annan, Josh O'Connor to Dundalk, Freddie Owens headed the spell to Civil Service Strollers, and finally 22-year-old Belgian midfielder Alan Del Ferrier went on loan to Czech side MFK Vyskov, should I say. Ins, Warren O'Hara was picked up from MK Dons, a 25-year-old centre-back with over 160 appearances for the English side. Marvin Ikpiteta, another English centre-back, was signed from Blackpool. 29-year-old Jordan Smith from Stockport County, formerly of Nottingham Forest, he signed a 2-year deal. Junior Hoylett was picked up after his contract finished at Aberdeen, the former EPL striker who scored 2 goals in 15 games for the Red last season. Former Adrian Livingston winger Nicky Cadden was signed for Barnsley, and Kieran Bowie, the 21-year-old former Wraith Rovers forward, was signed from Fulham for an undisclosed fee said to about 800 grand after making 0 appearances for the London side. Loans in, another keeper is 24-year-old Josip Borusek, joined for a season from Club Brugge. The Englishman started his career at Stoke and signed for the Belgian Giants in 2022, whilst Ukrainian forward Mykola Koravechep was picked up. Right, good man. Was picked up for Swansea City. He previously played on loan at the Hibs when he was signed from Troyes, but he's in 2022-23 season scoring 5 goals in 15 league matches. Now, I presume you would have seen most of them at this point. Thoughts on the ins and outs?
Outs, obviously, as a Hibs man, I was gutted to see Paul Hanlon and Lewis Stevenson leave after so many games for our club. Lewis is older and it was a Wraith fan as a boy, so I get that. I do think, the old joke about I'll see him coming back one day as a coach or whatever. I could see Lewis and Paul coming back. I felt there was another season in Paul, and I would have get them. I think there was possibly a fallout with the previous manager, and they couldn't reconcile it. So we lost a good Hibs man, a proper Hibs man. He's a Hibs man like me. So I was a bit devastated about that. Worth touching David Marshall. Some Hibs fans didn't like him. I did. I thought he grew into a good keeper at our team. At the beginning, he wasn't. And I know previously we've had chat, Scott, and you didn't fancy him, but he was really good for us and kept us and nearly got us into the top 6 with some of his performances. He actually still works for Hibs because he's got a degree in business management or sports business management, and he's now part of the backroom staff.
That's really interesting,
Good. Isn't it? So they don't all go and either run pubs or become football managers. Some of them
or sit the telly talking shit.
Well, indeed, I'll talk about that one on Sunday. I did see some of the comments from some of the guys, but the other one's mostly laddies, and a lot of it kind of tells you what Hibs have been about for a while, trying to sign all these young Scottish guys that aren't good enough so we can turn a coin on them.
Yeah,
there's no worked out, and Ewan Henderson, obviously he came. A big part of it, we accepted him, because quite a lot of my Celtic sporting pals rated him. Right, did see he looked a player. he never cut it. And obviously, we've got a great fondness for his brother Liam for that corner that he put. And the fact they're kind of Hibs Celtic-y people. They are, their family are a mix of two. That's from
right,
where I live in. So, so he got but he wasn't, he just didn't have enough about him. It's a shame, but I think he'll do all right at the league he's gone to.
In a comfortable Hibs team, I think he comes in and does well. In a team that is struggling and changing so much, he's never going to be a guy who's going to grab the team by the balls and lead them.
Didn't at all.
However impressive he can be.
Yeah, I think it was pockets. He's another one that might do well somewhere else. We suffer from that quite a bit. Our best example of that's Matt Docherty. He went on for Wolves to Spurs back to Wolves.
Right,
he played for us and he was shite and we hated him. So, fickle football fans again. The other lad is Tate. There's something about him. He Wraith Rovers, when we signed him, that was Jack Ross's project a wee bit. We brought him in, and the Falkirk fans rave about him. So he's got something. We heard he was a bit of troublemaker. Might not. You never know. And the other young laddie, Mackay, was another one we brought from Inverness. I think a wee bit on let's try. He looks quite good. We'll see how he makes out. And he's ended up can come in, didn't really play for us, and back out the door again. So it's been an interesting one. I don't think we've cleared the dross out yet, to be honest with you. A lot of the dross are still hanging around the club because they're probably on big bucks. Yeah.
I did notice it's quite a big squad in Scottish football terms.
Duffers of ones that have been bought in. Well, it's too much. And you can afford it at some of the super-sized clubs. Dare I say, even Celtic can carry a few.
The dross we've got hanging about. Yeah.
Well, whether they're dross, but they're as good as any player in the other teams in the league. Unfortunately, that's. You can do that. We have suddenly got the money to do that, and they've got laddies hanging about. You bring them on, and you can tell in an hour, can't you? A couple of games, you can tell. So we've got quite a lot of dross on the signings in. I think generally they've been positive, and I think I'm going to put it down to Malky Mackay having a better eye for a player, because we had Brian McDermott. Some of you might remember him, the old Leeds and Reading manager. The Irish English guy.
That was him.
He's Irish, and he came in and actually met him a few weeks into his career, and he come over really well. I thought,
I mean, you said that last time, yeah.
He did, but he brought in a whole pile more duffers, and it didn't really work out particularly. Malky Mackay seems to have noticed what's wrong, and I think going through the list quickly, I'll start with O'Hora. It's trust him to get the O instead of the A. It'd been so much easier to call him O'Hara in it, and most folk do. But O'Hora is the best signing so far. He's a player.
Interesting.
He's a player, and you wouldn't have noticed on Sunday because it was a stroll in the park for Celtic. But O'Hora was one of the few Hibs players that looked like he could match you, and he was, given the difficulties in marking your attackers, he done reasonably well, I felt. Big Marv, because I can't pronounce his name either, the other centre Blackpool, he's got a bit more to go, but we knew that when we signed him. He's tough, he blooters the ball away, he can win a header. We've been missing that. Didn't give him the ball on the ground. You saw that on Sunday. He was poor. He'd done the same at St Mirren the week before. Goalkeepers, Bursic is actually our first team goalkeeper, and it's hard to tell now. At first, I've been watching all the friendlies and stuff, obviously, as I do, and he looked all right in them. And even we beat the Greek champions, POK, and I watched that game, and Hibs were great. They played really well. The goalie was good. The defence was good. But in the league game so far, he's been a little bit suspect, a little bit. Smith, the other goalie's just a stand-in. He's just the second goalie because we rid of Wallacott, who was useless. It just wasn't good enough. I seen it in the pre-season friendlies last year, and he got a whole year out of us and a whole year's money. And other guys we've brought in so far. Well, I've got a wee list as well because we've done 9 changes so far. So Big Miko, he's the striker, superb. We liked him first time. He's a Ukrainian international. He's played for the Ukraine, so there's something there. He didn't look fit at St Mirren. He didn't look particularly fit against Celtic. That'll come. Because when he played for us the last time, it was only injury. It stopped him. He was really coming on to a game, and he suited the Scottish game pretty well. The other striker that really looked good and nearly scored on Sunday against kind of all the odds, him and Cadden changed the game, I felt. But but Kieran Bowie is a player. We knew about him the first time round, and I think there was a sniff by Hibs the first time when he was at Wraith. So he looks good. I think that's a big, strong Scottish player. This could take an hour itself. We've done so many changes at the club, which part of my frustration. Junior Hoylett, interestingly, Aberdeen want to keep him, and you might have seen that in the papers, but he chose Hibs, which we have a bit of a laugh about it, because Aberdeen often sign the player that Hibs are linked to, and then Aberdeen come along and take him. So it's quite nice to get a bit of revenge on them and bring a player on that they wanted to keep. Okay, he's old, but every club needs an old heat. Some of your guys now are that bit more mature, but still bring a lot to your team.
Don't think he's a bad player at all.
I think good. Nicky Cadden, a bit of an unknown quantity. There's been a suggestion that he's actually the better of the two Caddens. Now, Chris Cadden's a bit of a folk hero at Hibs. We like him. He's a good player. I felt we brought us into the game a wee bit on Sunday. I admit Celtic weren't really having to try very hard, but him and Cadden and Bowie actually brought us into it a wee bit. I do hope that the other Cadden, we call him Beardy Cadden because they're twins. So we've got Chris Cadden, clean shaven, and Beardy Cadden, who's not. We're hoping he brings something, because we're missing something wide, which we'll touch on in a minute, because you'd be surprised at that statement in many ways, given we've got Ewan and Boyle in our team. And then I can't find who else we brought in. Obviously, we brought your guy in today, which I'm relatively pleased about, because we need a defensive midfielder, and I believe this guy played well for St Mirren. Is liked at Celtic. He's just considered not quite ready for your team. So if he's not quite ready for you, but he's quite ready for us, I'm content with that. If you're going to sign players from the champions, well, that's good enough for me. And any of the bigger teams. So but what's the change? I think the one you wouldn't have known about, and I'll just bring up now, is also we've had Dylan Venti play for us for a year, who came with a bit of a reputation of scoring goals. And who's got a duck? Is it you who's got a duck?
Fucking right outside, man. The neighbours just fucking leave
it. You got a gun?
Anyway, I'm close to it, man. I'm close to it.
I'm looking out there thinking.
Man. But anyway,
Dylan Venti, it's just worth talking about him, because he's actually about to go out on loan. I heard just earlier on today. It looks like he said his goodbyes at Hibs, and he's going back to the Netherlands at his own request. Although we paid for Hibs a lot of money for him. We paid it 700,000 for him.
$700,000. No, a lot of teams spend that amount of dough on a striker, do they?
To send back, I'm hoping we're getting some of that. I believe it's a loan deal to Zwolle, who are not even that big a team, but he's going to Zwolle, and the deal is that it's with an agreement to sign him, which we've done with Melkison during the year, and Hibs actually made money on him.
Which is some gone, because that boy wasn't great.
Sometimes you watch your football, you don't know. You've seen players you've signed for Celtic, and the first week you play, they're brilliant, and then after that, they never kick a ball again. So both Melkerson and Venti, even more, I would say, actually look like football players. Venti looks like a football player. He's quite good. He works really hard for the team. But my goodness, he can't score, and they're strikers. If you can't score a goal and you're bought in as the main striker, so I only changed.
He was obviously brought on in under Lee Johnson. Would he have been one of your McDermott's signings?
So McDermott's two main signings, according to him, I stood talking to him in the queue for the plane, for the toilet in the plane. Sorry, come back from Spain when Hibs were playing. And he said had they been at the first game because he'd been over in Holland signing him. I'll just finish this, and then Will Fish was the other one McDermott brought in for Man United. So heavily involved in what happened over Christmas, and that was a disaster. Because we've got everyone in their granny come in, and we've got about 17 midfielders that are all the same player. Interesting times. I've just listed the ones with, was that about 20 people we've had to talk about. Transition.
So looking at it, right? So I mean, a load of the guys that we've mentioned have actually been thrown in the first team. I think I know we spoke about Marshall in the past, and I think Marshall's a good keeper. He's better than your normal Scottish standard of keeper. And I think a team like Hibs need a good goalie. Don't need a great goalie would be amazing, but a good goalie is kind of important. You saw the difference that Bulgarian lad made at St Johnstone last year.
Why did we not sign him?
No, that's Mitov, was it? And he went to Aberdeen. Yeah. I mean, good. And the highlights I've watched, he's actually done pretty well for them. He done really well against St Johnstone.
Yeah.
But looking at the squad, is it a David Gray thing himself? He wants that physicality in the back because it's landed the Giants and that defence of yours, isn't it?
No, but just because you're a Giant doesn't make you good. So I don't think it's David Gray about the size of the player. I think that's right across the squad, and it's a thing in football. I'll tell you a wee thing I noticed a couple of years ago in a Hibs game that changed my thinking on how football's played nowadays, because we're just used to be buckles running about the pitch, and it isn't like that anymore. No, I think what David Gray's first job was to stop us leaking goals, right? And I think he may have done that. It's hard to tell. I think with O'Hora, he definitely has. He's already like the best Hibs player. Again, that's how quick, in my opinion. He's come in and replaced other players that we thought were good as the one that looks best. Not so sure about Big Marv, the other boy. You're spot on about the goalie, because that's what we're famous for. From all my days watching Hibs, all my days at the beginning with Jim MacArthur, that was in the early 70s. But if you think Alan Ruff, Jim Layton, Andy Gorham, Budgie, some of you won't remember, but he was superb as a Hibs goalie. He made some wonderful saves, and even skipping a few of the ditties out, we have Daniel Andersson. Some of you won't remember that, but Daniel Andersson was a Swedish guy. How he never stayed at Hibs. He was a great keeper. Recently, until Marshall came along, we've not had anybody I would really say is, our first line of defence. We've had quite a few poor choices, and it is a change in Hibs' way, because I think you build for the back, and we were always famous for our overlapping defenders, and we've got them now, but they can't defend.
That's funny, because I'm a big fan of Lewis Miller. I think there was 2 games where I thought he was excellent, and I'm including the one that he just scored with a penalty in the last kick of the ball. I thought the big man was immense that game.
Yeah, and he was good at Celtic as well at your stadium too. He had a great game.
I think he's a really good big player. I mean, the boys were slagging on the weekend because they didn't think he was that good, and I'm going, but still, I think in Scottish terms, but it's just the size of him for a fullback. I just always think it's mad. Do you know what I mean? Fullback should be wee guys.
Aussie rules. It's Aussie rules. He should be playing. So Lewis Miller, he's classic because he's Marmite at Hibs. So half of us, including myself, think there's a player there, and there's half of them think he's an Aussie rules player who's picked up the wrong ball and turned up at Easter Road. Whatever happens, we'll get money for him because there is something about him. He's very physical. He was probably the only Hibs player apart from Joe Newell who put a challenge in on Sunday. So that's something, because that's part of our game. And if teams like Celtic get freedom to just stroll past people, nobody's kicking them, they'll score more goals. So, Lewis Miller, we could probably start with Lewis. He's fine, but I actually prefer Chris Cadden.
Right.
Because of the same, one's more physical, one's more skillful. Cadden's got much more about him, but neither can defend.
I have to say, though, I mean, I know you're talking about a beater, but I wasn't impressed with the defence at the weekend.
It's O'Hora, no a beater. Sorry.
All right, sorry. Right, okay, a beater now.
Centre half's good. Our English left back, a lot of Hibs. He's another Marmite one. A lot of them become a bit of a cult hero because of a stupid song. You know what I mean?
Right.
It doesn't mean. I think we really badly need another backup left back who takes his position. Unfortunately, Beardy Cadden, is more of a left-sided midfielder rather than I think we've got a wee gap there, and I agree with you 100%. Hibs defence wasn't the reason we got beat on Sunday. It didn't help because we made mistakes. The second half, the Hibs defence played quite well. because we didn't let you score any more goals. I know you weren't Celtic weren't trying that hard, but notwithstanding that, just the fact we didn't leak any more says that they worked out maybe one or two of the things they got wrong. But we could talk it. It's not just about Hibs, but I would certainly suggest to you that if we had 5 at the back, stroke 3 at the back, it might work better in the style of play we've got and the personnel we've got at the moment. That flat back 4, Miller and Abita spend half their time up the line. At least Miller gets a ball in. Abita stop beating his man. He did at the beginning, but he's not really even doing that anymore. He was putting crosses in, but against your Diddy teams in the League Cup, when we played Celtic and St Mirren, he wasn't, just didn't bring him to the table. Frustrating, but do carry on. Yeah.
With that in mind, what is the script with the £10 million man, Rocky Bashiri? What's the harm with him? Bashiri, should I say?
I think so. There you are. There's where we are. We've got 2 centre halves plus Bashiri, and I would suggest that Marvin Ike Peteta, right, is just Rocky Bashiri, but thinner, taller, and can header a ball better. So we've got a wee problem there. So I feel a bit sorry for Rocky because he's been put in the position he is. Another kind of cult hero thing with the name and the. But I've tried awfully hard. You know, I write my story every week about the game, and it's folk read it, and I try awfully hard to defend him, and I can't. He's just no. He's miles off. I'd rather see a young laddie come through for our quite good youth system and just keep playing him until he takes a place. Rocky will be chosen few and far between games unless there's bad injuries. I suspect. It's a shame, but he's not good enough. He's
going down the squad. Like I said earlier, it is a big squad. I mean, there's a whole load of guys there, and see Sunday kind of dictates my thoughts a bit here. Well, it's even honestly, the start of the season dictates my thoughts. So last year, me and you were quite bumming up Jake Doyle-Hayes, and obviously Dylan Levitt, when you signed him, with both of you thought that was an outstanding signing.
Yeah,
I think he'd done very little on Sunday. Martin Boyle, who's a great player on his day, done practically nothing on Sunday.
Finished.
And then you top it, you, and I'm kind of wondering where he was. I'd heard that you were maybe going to be selling him. Maybe that's the plan. And obviously, I was wondering about Venti. So there's a Josh Campbell's another guy who kind of has impressed me in the past. And from what, and I freely admit, the St Mirren game is only highlights I've watched. And I don't know. I mean, is it a case of David Gray doesn't really know what he's doing yet? And I don't mean what he's doing to sound as bad as it, but he's kind of got it in his head.
It's funny, a Celtic supporter post-match said that to me. He's just a rookie, doesn't care what he's doing. I disagree. I don't think it was anything to do with David Gray. It's our midfield shite. Right? It's awful, and we've got a load of midfielders, and whatever we do, one guy has to do it all. Joe Newell, I'm not saying he's a superstar, but he's a mile ahead of the rest of them. But if you're having to do the job with 3 or 4 players, you can't influence the game and be the captain. So I think David Gray does know, right? But he's decided, right, number one, we need to sort out at the back, right? And I'm not sure he has succeeded, but he tried. We need to get players in up front because Venti doesn't score, right? Yeah. So we've brought in 3 potentially people that can score. We've brought Molotnikov, which we'll maybe talk about in a wee while. I know his name sounds a bit interesting, but he's from Lockend, like the Hibs part of Edinburgh. But, so we got him. But just touching on all the players that you mentioned there from a Hibs perspective, we've been a bit disappointed. Jake Doyle-Hayes has not played for us this last season, and we tried to sell him and didn't want to go.
Right?
Yeah. Okay. So he had one good game for us. Funny enough, when all his mates for Ireland were over. He did really well, and he's never kicked a ball since. I'd get rid of him. Sorry, we've had a couple of busted flushes for St Mirren, and I'd remove him. Dylan Levitt's been a massive disappointment to us all. Hibs fans, a lot of Hibs fans, I never, but a lot of Hibs fans had in his head he's at like a number 10, but he's no. He plays quite deep beside Joe Newell, and he doesn't influence the game enough. He's a bit slow. Plays the odd lovely pass. But we can't afford luxury like that. I don't even think
right. So
what's the chances in the next 2 weeks there's a miraculous cure and he goes? I don't think his heart's at Hibs anymore. And on his day, he was better. He was better than Boyle. I mean, how he beat a man, 2 goals at Tynecastle when we looked.
That's right. Yeah.
That showed how good he was. But if you look back at all his history, seems to have a bit of an attitude. Does a couple of years and then gets a bit nippy, and the clubs move him on. I just hope that Hibs haven't built their whole budget for the pre-season and bringing players in on selling Ewan, and obviously he's got his cell injured. A daft fall and a friendly, I think, I can't mind who we were playing. Watford, and he tripped up, fell over, rolled about. We thought he banged his head or something in his boot. His moon boot. Anyway, so there you are. There's the, and I think I mentioned Dilly Venti didn't he make it?
So before we kind of go into this season in terms of the games and stuff, we've touched on the Celtic game. I think we can touch on it again. We want to go mad deep on it. Let's have that wee chat about where the club is off the park. Now, I didn't know Brian McDermott was planning to go until Mackay appeared. Now, Mackay obviously splits a lot of people's opinion because of his past. I'm going to dip that because I've had that chat with the Ross County boys numerous times, so I'm kind of by that sort of stuff. He always impressed me with his contacts in the game, and he brought quite a fair few loans and signings to Ross County that impressed me.
Players,
yeah. And I totally understand, football-wise alone, I totally understand why Hibs would give him the chance that they have given. However, it's more above him. I'm kind of looking to see, because obviously your owners come in and we had the sad passing recently, relatively recently. But I just wonder where the club is just now. They seem to have money to spend. I don't know how far that money stretches. I don't know how you feel about your club just now. Are you in a comfortable place that once you get something right, you'll kind of shoot off, or is it just bad mistake after bad mistake?
Where do I start? How do I feel? Well, imagine I'm like, we have a thing called Hibs First. I think I've told you that before. That's season ticket holding. So you generally find that most of the people in that are the older folk in that, right, are Hibs staff, go home and away. We're holding our nose a wee bit at the moment about what's going on, right? So Mackay, I'm with you. Wasn't that happy, wasn't that impressed. Know who I want at my club for my own personal reasons. Unfortunately, my club is split probably 60-40 with arseholes now, and 40% are more sensible people. That's how football's gone, though, isn't it?
Was that way, mate?
Unfortunately, I get very frustrated at the support nowadays and the expectation, particularly, instant success stuff, which is every club, but, it dilutes what my football club's all about, personally. So, but parking all of that stuff, I hold my nose. I'm not that impressed, but I hold my nose on that one because I want the best for my football team. You're right about Mackay's contacts, and the proof of it is the players he's brought in, because there's 3 or 4 in there. You think, well done, that must have been you, because there's no danger that would have even considered that before. And they get the O'Hora signing, that happened immediately. They've obviously been watching them, tapped them and said, when you're finished, your contract's up, come to Hibs, come and see the city, It's Hibs selling points, sell the city, sell the training centre, sell the site, the potential. However, upstairs, right, and so Ron Gordon, right, had the right idea, right? He did want to make, well, let's use a funny term, make Hibs great again, right?
Get that in a hat.
He didn't have those political affiliations, but I'm going to touch on that in a wee minute. He's very much a Democrat, and that's good. I was happy with that, given his own background. His son is taking over. I think he tries to do things with best intentions, but he's so far out his depth it's unbearably uncomfortable, right? So I'm not damning the guy, it's his toy. He's bought the toys, he's playing with them, and he's not throwing them at the pram, he's keeping them close to his chest. That's where the main problem for me lies. If you ask the majority of the Hibs support what they think, it's a joint effort between Ben Kensel, the chief executive, and you'll recognise it, Celtic fans, from your own thoughts on owners against guys that run the club and influences that they have. I think I'm going to surprise myself by saying this, but I think Kensel's sometimes caught like rock in a hard place, because he's worked with the Americans who have come with all new ideas that didn't fit Scottish football, but they think it's going to work.
The corporate sales at Hibs are monstrous now. You know, they sell out all those areas. There's Hibs fans buying £7 pints in Easter Road now. Fuck it, excuse my language, but what are they playing at? It's only £3.50 and it's come around the corner.
The club, right? Yeah.
I still go to the club and I don't care that the air conditioning is no working. The pints. But there's guys going in there into all, and you know, I called them in one of my match reports, or the dummies that are getting mugged off, and a lot of folk took exception to that. They said we were willing to put that much money in the Hibs. Who am I to say? You know, however, so that part of it seems to be making a profit. I've seen the books, and it looks like it's making money.
Right, okay.
So Ben Kensel's done a good job in that corporate part. I do think that the Americanization of the kiosks and all that is a disaster. It's no worth. It's overpriced and shite. And if I go to Celtic Park, or more importantly, I went to St Mirren last week, and they're much better service, much similar price, but just worked better. You know, the Hibs stuff's just no work.
I feel you with that one, mate. I feel you. I'm with you. The dross we get served at Celtic Park. I mean, you go home and away. See, Livingston. How can Livingston, who have got like 4 fans, make it work so well with this great food? And it's no, I mean,
great. Just average is fine.
Right, it's good, man. It's good.
No, I would pick St Johnstone as an example.
St Johnston, exactly, another one.
They
especially like pies at St Johnston.
Exactly. So, but it just shows you. So that corporate noise upstairs at Hibs fans will say Ben Kensel and Ian Gordon are fanning around and just toying. I feel a tiny bit sorry for Ben Kensel. He's a bullshitter. He'll meet you in the street and tell you things you shouldn't. Right? He's got, we call him Suntan Ben because he's always on the permatan, and all of that stuff can put you off a person because it comes over a bit of a wide. But I do think that commercially he's probably improved the club, right? But I couldn't give a fart about that. I go to the football to watch Hibs win. I'm no bothered if you can get a £7 pint and peri chips. I'm no interested, right? most Scottish football fans, most of us, right? I don't care about whether you only go twice a season or you go home and away every week. Most of us go to watch your team win and see a good game, right? And if you get a good game, that's a bonus, isn't it? That the opposition will give you a game or whatever. So off the pitch, done well. On the pitch, it's a plaything. Then we've got Bill Foley and the Black Knights, or the Black Knight, the Bournemouth connection, right? So there's another American, and he is a proper make America great again. So once again, talk about holding your nose. However, what worked well, I think, is Hibs have mugged them off. It feels like that. It feels like we'll take your money, right? Hibs turned down the opportunity to, I believe, appoint Bournemouth's assistant manager as our new manager. That was the recommendation of the report they carried out, and Hibs said, no, you can beat it, I'm in charge. So we're having David Gray. There you are.
That is interesting. Wow.
Isn't it? So we believe, I mean, that could be, all the noise that goes on in football, it could be rubbish, but that's what I've heard from reasonably decent sources, that's what the report recommended that they were involved in, and Hibs said no.
That's great. That's great to hear. Absolutely great to hear.
So it's good, but what it does mean is there's probably been a wee fallout, and that's why I can't believe I'm defensive of Kensel, because I do think he's a bit of I don't know, just a slimy kind of, I work in the corporate world outside of this, and you meet a lot of folk like that have got not much about them, but they can bullshit the life out of you.
They're up there, aye.
And so I do feel that, but I think he is stuck in the middle, trying to say, well, look, we've taken our $6 million. They have got some good players. I mean, I was at Hibs and Bournemouth last season, and they toyed with us. They done what you done on Sunday. They just played with Hibs. They won 4-0 coming on 10. And you're looking at players you recognise, Ryan Christie and other guys, I can't remember their names now, but they're a good team, and you're thinking, we could bring a couple of them in. I think Hibs have kind of maybe batted it back a wee bit, and so we did get, I think it's Kilmarnock have signed a Bournemouth player on loan. I could be wrong, something in Kilmarnock, somebody like that. And you think, hang on, if he was any good, first choice would be, because we're the first route to Europe, no Bournemouth. That's Hibs are. That's we are.
we're the most likely to get into Europe of the
I agree with you.
Group of Bournemouth, Hibs, Lorient, who Hibs once played, who got relegated under the Bournemouth thing, and team in Australia or New Zealand or whatever. So, cut a long story short, it's a shambles, right? In the background, they've lost the support. They have a lot. I mentioned it right at the very beginning of this. The crowd tells you everything. When Hibs are good, people turn up, right? They're I try and never use the word loyal, but they didn't stick with the club very often, right? Quickly, the 200,000 that came to celebrate us winning the cup is down to about 9,000 or 10,000 again. Do you know? That tells you everything you need to know about the football, and so I think they've got a long way to win us back. Wow. I write my wee match report at the end, every week, and guys that know me know that I sometimes almost over-exaggerate how well we've played or how things are coming together, because it's thin ice all the time. Folk are just waiting for it to go wrong. I didn't read the match thread because I'm at the game, and I try and not read it when I come back, because they've all watched it in the telly, seen it 16 angles, he played, I've seen, and whilst I don't think I know more about the game than any guy watching it on the telly, I do see it in a different way, and I'm not going to lie to you, I want the best for him, so I'm not going to sit and say they're shite and he go back everybody. Can he do that? So, I think you can probably tell I'm there on Sunday. We're just very touch on that, and it's another one to give you context. We're playing you on Sunday in the cup. We probably expect to get pumped, right? But notwithstanding that, Hibs would normally bring a big support, right? When we went to Ibrox a few years ago, think we'd get pumped. We filled the whole of the Broom Loan. So people will turn up. At the moment, Celtic have just posted us another set of tickets. They posted them. I mean, what's that about? But there's modern football for you. We've sold 800. That's the same as we get in a league game. That kind of tells you folk are saying, I'm going to get beat. I'm a bit scunnered. So
much are they charging? Are you charging the same prices?
So for the first time in probably 20 years, I bought a ticket for Celtic Park that was a reasonable price. It's 22 quid. 22 quid? That's all they took. Now, normally, I saw somebody complaining on X, Twitter, saying Hibs have upped their prices to 34. I paid 36 to get into Celtic Park last season.
I'm telling you, mate, I bought 2 tickets for a pal of mine coming off for the flag day off the website, and it was 37 quid each. Aye. And I was going, this is fucking scandalous, man. And so that's a story for another day, but I think, give or take 1 or 2 clubs, we should all get together and stop that nonsense. 100%. I've been saying it for 100 years, but the thing is, we sell it. If I don't take it, somebody will take it. So, and Hibs don't have that, and that's probably another chat we should have. We don't have people to take it, but they do mark Aberdeen, Hearts, Rangers and Celtic, put the prices up to play them, and put the prices up in the Hibs end too, So my brother went at the weekend, he can't afford to go to every game, took his 2 kids, it cost him a fortune because we were playing Celtic, And it's because but us, we can sit and bemoan about fucking football. Aye, indeed. So in summary, you're kind of a wee bit dubious about the whole thing. So glass half full, glass half empty. I'd rather always be a glass half full person. I'm mature. I've lived a bit. I love my football team. I love going to the football. It's really important to me. To be on a downer about Hibs is the last thing you need in your life. You've already got loads of noise going on, and so I try not to, but by God, it's no easy at the moment because, God, I never thought you'd hark back to Tom Farmer and Rod Petrie, but you kind of look back now going, I wish it was like that again. At least had Hibs at heart. So that leads us a lovely segue into what we've watched over the last couple of weeks. You touched on it a minute ago about your pre-season. Now, it was quite an impressive pre-season. I mean, you played Edinburgh City, gave them a howding. MSV Duisburg, German side, beat them 1-0. Played PAOK Salonika, as you had mentioned, beat them 1-0. You played Watford, 3-2 defeat, but by all counts, good game. Yeah. And that leads you into, as you've no Europe this season, that leads you back into the League Cup groups. So you were drawn with Queen's Park, Peterhead, Kelty and Elgin. 3 wins for 4. A solitary defeat to Kelty. I say, you notice I'm refusing to say their second name for you. Meant that Hibs finished top of the group with 9 points, a goal difference of 12, edging Queen's Park out of top spot and setting up this Sunday's away tie at Celtic Park. Now, I watched the highlights and it was pretty run-of-the-mill stuff. I mean, the Kelty game will stick in your throat, obviously, because of what they are. But as I saw the highlights again, their keeper had one. It was one of their days, I felt. But you can tell me otherwise. League-wise, now, pretty torturous start. Opening day, 3-0 reverse at St Mirren. Nothing each at half-time with some decent chances. None more so than the fucking aforementioned Venti miss while he was standing on the line. Second half, I would say a capitulation. It was a good goal for their opener, but very avoidable. Boyle had a great chance after, missed it, and then that shambles of a second goal just kills the heart in the team and kills the game stone dead. We were playing Kilmarnock that day, and I was looking at the scores during the game, and I turned and the boys went, fucking, some other beating Hibs 2-0. It was a real big surprise to always. I don't think it was as bad a performance as the scoreline gives you. However, it's the fact that you capitulated, I think, would probably worry you more than anything.
So I don't need to add to anything you've said here, Scott.
Right, sound okay.
That's how the Boyle missed chance, and probably one wee tiny thing. Molotnikov, who I've not really talked about, young laddie that's come through, who's going to make it. He's a really good player. He got a slight injury and we took him off, but we changed the shape of the team at that point, and it left us more open. I felt at 1-0 down, we still could have come back into the game. We were playing reasonably well. Folk have corrected me because I said we played quite well first half. Folks said, no, we weren't well, we just weren't shite. We've been
terrible.
We just got a wee bit better. So the change probably for me was Boyle missing his chance, stupid error for a second goal, and Molotnikov getting taken off, and us kind of ending up lopsided on the pitch. We've got the personnel to cover all the positions, but 3-0 didn't really sum it up. But then let's for 1 second talk about St Mirren. They're a good team, and their manager's a superb manager. If you want one guy I would have had at Hibs before David Gray, Stephen Roberts. I would have had him at Hibs.
He's not somebody I like.
No, as a person, knows his stuff.
But he's done it with Motherwell, and he's done it excellently well with St Mirren. He's got a total idea of what he wants. He's got an idea of the players he wants, and I agree with you. I wouldn't have thought that would have been a bad move by Hibs, but it is what it is. And
he has some allegiances in there. There's a lot of Hibs fans, including myself, a wee bit not sure about having people like that involved in the club. I have to see past that with him, because I think there's no much to it, and he's a good manager. But do you want to just touch on the friendlies in the League Cup? Because
go for it. Go ahead.
The only reason we're playing you on Sunday is because we lost at Kelty, right? Because we would have won the group and would have been seeded if we'd beat them.
Okay.
So that really sticks in our craw, because the League Cup's one of the 2 trophies we might have half a chance of winning. That's almost certainly potentially gone now. So that was frustrating. No particularly losing to a team in maroon called that, but a Diddy team for a wee tiny league of part-timers, right, is unacceptable. And whilst we missed loads of chances, our B team should have been beating them. So David Gray, so every single manager that comes at Hibs, you kind of give him 3 strikes and they're out of disasters, right? David Gray he's got the 9 lives of a cat for me, so he gets 9 chances, not 3. He lost one against them because of no making the changes quick enough, and the ones he brought on didn't influence the game. So, but that was embarrassing for the 1,500 Hibs fans that went there and sold their stadium out or a bit out. Can you imagine how we felt after that one, losing to that name?
that size of club. It was ridicule. But more importantly, the draw gets made and we get Celtic at Celtic Park. It's like, for fuck's sake, that's the price of it. That's the real price of it, because you end up having to play, rather than get a home game against, some diddy team like the other Hearts, but... Well, come on, Falkirk. Anyway.
Right, so that brings us on to Sunday past. And I'll be honest, I was disappointed. Like I said, because me and you'd arranged to do this, obviously went and done my research and I watched the Hibs games and stuff. And like I said, you see Hibs get beat 3-0 off of St Mirren. It's easy to go, St Mirren were terrible. But then I watched it and I'm kind of going, whilst ultimately they ended up terrible, the game was there for them. At 2 different points, the game was there for Hibs. They were in the game. I mean, as a capitulation, as we've already said, for the game. So I expected that Hibs, who've gave us so much shit over the last, since Neil Lennon brought his back up, every season you're going in there and it's always in the psyche. Brendan Rodgers struggles here. And I was a wee bit nervous into it, however well we did play against Kilmarnock. But as soon as Carl McGregor's goal went in that game looked finished. Don't get me wrong, that boy hitting the bar from nowhere. I mean, it was an absolutely brilliant chance. Could have opened things up. But that aside, I walked away thinking, your man Gray's got a job in his hands.
Yeah, so that's how I feel. And he has got a job in his hands. And everything, again, you said is an accurate reflection of what I witnessed. I was disappointed because I like to think, and I hear you and other Celtic supporting friends of mine, I like hearing that they're nervous to come. I want Hibs to be a place that opposition clubs fear. On Sunday, I think if Bowie had scored his goal after his nice move and hitting the bar, all Celtic would have done was step to pace up and scored a couple.
You think so?
And slapped us and said behaviour. So I thought you were toying with us the whole game. It almost felt like a wee bit like, let's not humiliate them. It was like a training game.
Well, I heard a few people saying because of the sun and all that. I heard a load of people kind of going, it's like a pre-season friendly here.
Aye, and
which must kill you hearing part like that. Do you know what I mean?
So, well, as you know, I met one of our mutual friends for a couple of pints after, more than one of our mutual friends, and a couple of comments were made, and it's kind of sore because you're like,
yeah, I can imagine.
Really didn't turn up, and I can't defend them, and there's only me and a couple of other Hibs fans there, and you're like, much as I've no particular angst against your club, like many other fans do, right? Yeah, even I was getting a bit antsy and like, shut it. And I did make one comment after somebody called me a soup taker, which I really didn't appreciate. And you have got to stop that. You got to stop. No. I really don't appreciate that one.
You'll never hear it from me, brah. You'll never hear it from me.
And I know, and most of my Celtic pals just wouldn't say that, but it is quite offensive. And my offensive remark back about all the Tories on your board didn't go doing well either. At least one Hibs player come up with something, eh? So Sunday wasn't great, and it just highlighted our weakness in midfield and our lack of cover in defence and how many goals we should be scoring and only taking our chances. It doesn't bode well for what's coming, but they've done something about it, and that's how we got to look. Bowie Luke's a player, Kukurevich we know is a player. Hoylett has a good. He tore us up for arse paper at Easter Road at the end of last season. Aberdeen beat us 4-0 at Easter Road when we were thinking we would go in and thump them. They beat us 4-0, and Hoylett was a big part of that day. So you're hoping
that was Montgomery's last game.
It was a game that lost him his job.
Yeah.
Frankly, because I think that the Hibs board at that point, they're real knee-jerkers. They really are. It's this instant success American thing that, and the youngsters they get rid of them. The Hibs fans are booing. But next week we win 5-0 and everybody's applauding again. But they didn't, so there's quick reactions. It's been going on since Jack Ross. Because in reflection, we should have kept that boy all those years ago. The proper manager and gave him time to rebuild the club again, like Stubbs and Lennon did for us.
You're 7 managers in 7 years now. I mean, that's
embarrassing.
Not a good thing at all, is it?
It's embarrassing, and every one of them's dip you up. Jack Ross accepted, right? Because he was a proper manager and had proven himself at other clubs, although he failed dismally at United after us as well, because he got fired there. But aye, too many, let's try him out. That sounds like a good idea. And it's this football manager thing, the game football manager for more mature people, you know. They're just toying with things and trying things, changing our strips and changing our managers, or all that, you know, changing the bars in the stadium and selling you hot dogs instead of pies. It's all just fannying about rather than focus on the football first, get the football right, the crowds will come, then you can sell us hot dogs and £7 pints. So, but other folk will say I'm old-fashioned and you know you.
No, I will not say that. I mean, I'm one Scottish football in general. Why don't we get it right on the pitch before we start selling it to Sky?
Absolutely, all the way up to the internationals, indeed, and so aye, very frustrating. Sunday showed us where we're weak. I think it's probably, if you don't mind, I'll just mention Corn that was signed from Celtic on a year's loan.
Go for it.
That was one of the players we were missing, that kind of position. Big, strong defensive midfielder who done really well at St Mirren last year.
And because of our stupid rules, because I hate it. See, if we give you a loan of a guy, he should play against us. I hate this. He can't play against you.
Yeah,
I hate it.
Yeah. But I'll be honest, to counter that, it's a write-off on Sunday for us anyway. We're just going. We call it a free hit. You just don't get many free hits unless you're playing the Champions League, right? We get free hits when we play, particularly Celtic. We don't treat, it's a weird one because we're gone there and just with no expectation. But we go to the Hunnery and to Ibrox, we actually expect to go win even though we're shite. Isn't that weird? It's not because of the football on the pitch. It's
the psyche, aye.
And yet when we go to Tynecastle, we're shiting ourselves because they have a kind of hoodoo on us quite
right.
a lot, you know. So anyway,
we're on the home straight here anyway. I don't think we need to go ball deep into Sunday. I mean, how are you expecting the team to play? Sit deep, try your best to frustrate, look for the counter. Is that what we're going for?
So you could lose 5-0 doing that, and lose 5-0 trying to play your game. So the best Celtic and Hibs games are when they go at each other, in my opinion, right? And more often than not, you win. But on occasion, we win, and it's quite satisfying, right? But it's been a long time since we won at Celtic Park. A long, long time. I was in the Celtic end last time we won.
What was the score?
1-0 to Hibs, or 2-1 to Hibs actually, and we scored in the last minute. Danny Galbraith, and I was sitting up the stairs near where your ultras sit now. I was up above them, and Hibs scored. I couldn't help it because we scored in the last minute. I'm saying 2-1, it might be 1-0. Danny Galbraith's the thing that sticks in my head.
Was that midweek game?
Midweek game. I jumped up, couldn't help it, cheered, and a big guy behind me. And I'm a big guy, but he's a big guy behind me. Told me, sit down or fuck off back to Edinburgh, big man. So I fucked off back to Edinburgh with a big smile on my face.
Took your 3 points and buggered off, did you? 3
points down those stairs and out I went before he recognised me. But he did threaten me, and it made me laugh at the time because it was going to happen threat. It was more a, you bastard, you shouldn't have sat in our end and celebrated. Because I would take exception if any Celtic fan done that in the Hibs end, you know, sit quietly and eat your prawn sandwich. But that's, I think, the last time we won at Celtic. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's the last time we won at Celtic. Danny Galbraith, good 10 years ago plus. You can't even find it on the internet, can you?
I'm getting there. But I'm pretty certain. I actually think me and you have spoken about this in the past.
Right.
I had corporate at Celtic Park that time. And if I'm right, Liam Miller absolutely ran the show.
That's right. That night. We did have this chat. You're right. And
Liam Miller, the reason I remember, Liam Miller was amazing, and the guy I was in the corporate with was a big Hibby. He was a big Alan Thompson who I worked with Bailey's. And I remember he cheered sitting there, and I remember, and in the corporate, you've just got to suck it up, and you know what I mean? Just...
You can't do anything. Although I've been in the corporate at Tynecastle where I didn't suck up and they threw me out. But that was another story for another day.
That was a good story. I like the Rangers one. That was a good one.
Yeah. Oh, there's the Rangers one as well. Yeah.
Right. Aye. So, like you say, I think you're kind of damned that you do. I think the thing that goes against Hibs as well is how we exited the competition last year. There'll be a determination within the group to make that right, and I think so. I'm generally a pessimistic person to keep myself right just in case, but I'd be surprised if and I don't say this with any joy, mate. Especially the way the weekend went there, I was expecting a lot more for Hibs, and I think your manager's got a job. However, the way you talk about him allows me to believe that he'll get more time than
he will from the
people,
fans,
and I hope that's the case.
He will from the fans. I think it's the first time I've went to Celtic in all my times in the away end. I've been with Everton, Barcelona and Hibs. It's the first time I've been delighted to get in a restricted view seat.
Everybody chokily sat behind that pole.
Ironically, the tickets have sold. Our ultras, who are quite noisy and quite a big group as well, they've been put behind that big pillar, all of them.
The ultras, the young team.
Our young team, because they keep changing their name. So it was Block 7 last year because they were in Block 7, and they've moved now. And
I noticed that.
North Side. They've moved there to try and... So what you wouldn't see being in the Celtic end, right, is, and I know we feel that particularly Hearts, Celtic and Rangers, the noise from the south side of the stadium carries, and so it almost feels like a home game for those particular teams, and somewhat Aberdeen when they turn up. So you can't counter that because that's a kind of sound thing. But what they've done instead is they've built the same as what's your guys called, the boys and the other lot. They've got the real standing thing now.
Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah.
Hibs have got that behind the goal, and you saw the place was jumping. But what was good for me sitting in the prawn sandwich stand, right, is I couldn't really hear your fans. I'm not particularly offended by your fans, but I don't want your fans to be louder than my fans. And what I heard was a Hibs support, and for me, that's a step in the right direction. You know that there's a noise created by our fans that everybody can hear.
That's mega interesting because I did. There was two things that I noticed being at the game on Sunday night. So straight away I noticed the standing section, and I saw that your guys had moved there, and we obviously couldn't hear them because we've got rain support. We couldn't hear them. However, I was wondering. I said to my mate at the time, I says, I wonder if they're making a better atmosphere for the rest of the stadium there. And if that's what they're doing, it's an excellent move. It's the best
so I
move.
think it worked. It was one of the few good things that came out of the weekend for me. I actually put that in my match report was, because there's some strong feelings about that group. You have at Celtic the same conversations. It's good the support, but some of the other things they maybe do.
I've had one meeting since we last spoke with them, and I hold the guys away up there. Hold them away up there. They done one thing, and I fell in love with them.
So and one of my nephews home and away with me, so he goes to all the away games with me, goes to home games with them. He's one of them, and so I'm a bit the same. I try and give. They're the future of
100%.
Clubs, and you know what? Some of their political affiliations and that, they just remind me of myself when I was that age. So no, I've changed, but it doesn't offend me. Hibs fans were upset on Sunday because Olympique Marseille and Hibs have a link. There's a slightly surreal thing, but it's because of, frankly, football and politics a wee bit, because although Marseille are perceived as one thing, they're one of the left-leaning clubs in France, or certainly their ultras are. They were all there.
Frank Swazi.
Well, there's him as well. That wasn't. I don't think anything to do with it. But there's Marseille fans were there, and they had a big flag at the weekend. But I was offended because it was blue and white. Everton guy. I didn't want to see that in the Hibs end. It's like, I'm sure those guys. There's ultras in the Celtic end looking, going, is that a blue and white flag?
What's that? Yeah.
I mean, and weirdly, just to add to that, there was Cork City and Hibs have a thing as well. So there was Cork City guys in there as well with their colours on, and that's got to be good for football because it's allegiances, and that's how Italy works, that's how Spain works somewhat, and I think in Scotland and Ireland and places like that, it's not a bad thing that they're all getting on or they're knocking fuck at each other. Because a week before at St Mirren, they were rolling about in the ground, the two lots, proper, like the old days, proper, like proper, and that was after the game. It's like so it's quite nice to see all of that. But so I think it was a good thing. And is it worth saying, because I know that a lot of Celtic fans are upset about the reduction in seats you got, because Hibs have blanked out an area and reduced the tickets. You're paying the price of being perceived as the other arse cheek, I'm afraid.
100%, yeah.
Part of it, because what Rangers bring is much worse, but you guys are no angels, right? It does offend some people. Some of the songs that you sing doesn't offend me, frankly. I couldn't give a monkeys. I don't care. It's dig in. But it does offend a lot of people, and so there's a lot of folk naturally just lump you in. And that was the price you paid. And along, I was explaining to our mutual friends that the other price you paid was the sneaking in thing, the doubling up. Because even, and I know, and Big Bikey said to me, and he was right, a lot of folk move seats and join that group of two groups of ultras, but your end was full, right? Your end was full upstairs. Week for my seat, I can see there wasn't a seat to be had, and yet the aisles around the ultras are full, right? So there's still doubling up, and until we stop behaviour like that, there's a price to pay, right? And so Hibs probably lost a couple £100,000 doing that. There's nothing to be made when our end's no full, and we're doing that. But as a point of principle, it also makes it easy for us, I hope, to give Rangers a lot less. A lot less, because they really do bring another level to it. And I know other Hibs fans will disagree with me and say, arse cheeks, and all that stuff. But they're worse, and they bring all the smoke bombs and the trouble before it. There's fights and all that stuff, which we really see with Hibs and Celtic very often. So it was an interesting one. I'm pleased Hibs done it, and I know it upsets loads of my Celtic pals. So you could have sold us the seats and more folk could have been at the game, you'd have made more money. I get all of that, but the atmosphere was better for Hibs fans, and I heard Hibs singing and no Celtic singing.
Right, okay. I mean, I am never, in all these shows, and even the main one we do, I'm never wanting to tell another club what they should do, right? And does it frustrate me? Of course it frustrates me. If I don't get a ticket, my mates don't get a ticket. That's frustrating. But I'm never ever going to tell a club what they should and shouldn't do with their own stadium. And some of the reasons you flung up there, totally valid. Younger me might sit and argue with me. Old me, I mean, we've now got turnstiles that the more rotund person would struggle to get through for that very same reason. You know what I mean?
Really?
So the clubs,
most clubs can't do that. Well, most clubs can't.
So we've got that sort of stuff. But another one I wanted to that big stand that's right behind your head right now. It's a belter. I've got to admit, and me being, I have the Borussia Dortmund leanings and stuff. I looked at it and I said to my mate, they said, whip out every seat and just make it a big standing section. I was like, it's a belter, man.
Unfortunately, the youngsters didn't like it so much. It is the old guard that go in there. The old
it's an absolute cracker.
It's the guys for the old East Terracing that still go in there. A lot of us have drifted over. I mean, I moved to the West simply because I started to take my boys, and it was a safer environment to go to, because there's still a rough edge to Hibs that there always will be, and that's good. So I didn't go in. But you probably noticed on Sunday none of the noise came from there. I don't think
none at all.
Sweetie rappers. There's more chance of a song coming out the West Stand where I sit. The two-tiered one where the teams come out. So these stands famous at Hibs, but the youngsters have a different idea about where you should stand and how noise carries. I've got
to say, as a stand, it's an impressive.
If you watch football at it, right, and you Celtic fans will only understand, but the worst seat you can get in a away game in the Scottish top league is at Celtic Park, right? It's a disgrace because of the old columns and charging folk the most. Even Rangers charge less than Celtic, right?
Yeah.
And
we've had this discussion, and I agree with
you. But for a wee bit of investment, which obviously I think any club could do, it would be worth considering just getting rid of those and getting a good architect and a good engineer in just to improve it a wee bit, because I've only sat in here a couple of times because I'm a West Stander now, and that's where I sit, and that's where I like, and that's how I get a view of the game. But the couple of times I've been in here, it's a cracking view of a football game. Higher up. It's really
higher up. You've got that. You're looking right on the pitch. There's no pillars there. Honestly, I was just watching it and Sunday. I kind of going.
It's just a pity guys that support Celtic didn't just change their team and come support Hibs, and we could fill it. The ones based in Leith, you know.
Okay. Right. I'm going to finish off, mate. Unless you've got any pressing you kind of want to chat about.
No, really. Just maybe a prediction for the rest of the season would be a good one. Given
that's what I was going to finish off. So I would like to know where you think it's going to go, right? And that's generally when your kind of heart comes into it. I'd like you to tell me what your head thinks about it, and just in general where the club's headed in your opinion.
Round in circles would be where the club's headed until it changes at the top. Until Ian Gordon starts listening to people, and Kensal, I suppose, a wee bit. So that's a club. Football wise, I still have absolute faith that David Gray will do something, and my head says that as well as my heart says we'll be third, right? But we'll never be third. Watching what's going on at Tynecastle, Aberdeen, St Mirren, maybe no Kilmarnock or Dundee. How good are Dundee? We're basic budget. I'd like to think we'll finish in the top 6, but I don't think we'll get a European place, and that's why these guys for Bournemouth are bought in the Hibs. They expect Hibs to be the third or fourth force in the country. So I think manoeuvres will happen because of that.
Right, okay. That is interesting.
The rules will change. The SFA are stopping this just now because other clubs bigger than ours might have an issue with it. I'm not suggesting it's your club. But
right, no. You've poked the bear a wee bit there, pardon the expression. So I was at the fans forum, and we were talking about this, the kind of now the multi-club ownership type of thing, and our boards were there, and they were categorically against it. And the question was asked why. I mean, surely it's going to bring funds into the league. Sure, it's going to do this and that. And their response was, we don't want the league to turn into a league of clubs, like feeder clubs. We don't want that. It might bring monetary value in, but it weakens the league and it weakens the own clubs. Now, at the time, I kind of saw what they were talking about. However, I saw the opposite side, and I'm kind of going, but there's going to be investment, there'll be fresh new players. Bordeaux this week are that far away from going tits up.
Yeah.
And they were the smallest of a company.
Yeah.
And when the company started struggling, then you know as well as anybody in business, your weakest asset gets thrown to the wolves.
Yeah.
Now, that would be horrendous to see in Scottish football.
Yeah.
And for that reason alone, I kind of now go, yeah, I'm not really into senior clubs. Mm-hmm. Something needs to change. The SFA, I think, are not fit for purpose. We look for all our ideas down to England when we should be looking everywhere but fucking England.
Correct.
We should be filling our stadiums. We should be putting maximum price on tickets. We should be having beers at the game. We should make it. You were talking about Marseille fans, Cork fans. Make it a destination for the rest of Europe to come because it's fun and it's brilliant and it's good.
No, being cheeky, but Hibs are based in a city that's a destination that people come every year, and we don't sell tickets to tourists because
they could be Celtic, Rangers or Hearts fans. That's actually what they do. It's like, what you doing? Just ask for a passport and give them a section. So lots to digest here. I would question, because Celtic have a feeder team in Austria, have they not?
We have links. We don't have it's not an actual official club.
Right, I didn't know. It's just I read that last week. I didn't even know it.
No, they wouldn't be a feeder team. They're basically I mean, I don't even think they're second division. I think they might be lower than that. And we send our 18-year-olds to it.
Yeah, Hibs do the same with Airdrie, surprisingly, of all the clubs.
Right.
I think it's...
I think the connections are excellent. But I mean, the Bordeaux one scares me. And I'm pretty sure the Dutch team, Vitesse Arnhem, are in a bad way because of their connections with Chelsea.
That's right, yeah. So, however, for every failure, there's teams that have
100%.
Man City are by far the best example of that, being the second team of Manchester to being the best team in the world type thing. So there's always pros and cons of it. I do think some of the decisions made at board level might be based around looking after themselves and jobs for the boys stuff. And
of course.
I can't imagine Celtic or dare I say it, Rangers ever becoming a feeder club per se. You know, you've got the size and the scale that you wouldn't have to be. I do wonder about the rest of Scottish football. At the moment, Hearts down, you know, because Hearts are the other team and they're surviving simply because they've got folk donating to them, they're fans. They're fans, that's nothing compared to the money they get from wealthy people, you know, and if that were to go, where would they be? And if it's them, it's Aberdeen with Cormac, it's Hibs with our Americans, it's Dundee United, who've been fannied around by 3 or 4 different owners, you know. And so
you had that Netflix guy floating about Motherwell for a while. Yeah.
Correct. And then,
I'm pretty sure the St Johnston's an American guy now, isn't he?
I think so. I got a guilty thing as I've got older. I rarely watch very much of what goes on at other clubs anymore. I just find your life's too full. So, you know, I have to do research when we're playing teams and find out who's playing for who. I don't, you know, and that just shows you where football's gone as well, because squads are made up of 20 and 30 people. No 7 folk you knew and 4 you'd heard of. You know, I couldn't even tell you half the Celtic players. I know who they are facially. I couldn't even tell you their full names. And that's a change. And the kids only know it because they're Football Manager and other games like that where they know everybody. But I think Scottish football's, the atmosphere's good. The crowds are brilliant. Let's be blunt. Even 18,000 live on telly on a Sunday at lunchtime is actually a good crowd. Celtic, I think 3,000, so 15,000 Hibs fans turned up, right? And it's live on the telly and all the other free ways that folk can watch a football nowadays. Dundee United the other week was superb, brilliant game of football. So you know, there's hope for us yet. You know, that's what I think. But I think if there's extra investment to be taken, if we can control it, and I think, you know, Hibs have mugged off these guys so far. We've taken 6 million for basically just you know, they've got as much voice as I've got as a, you know, £1,000 shareholder. They've put in 6 million and doesn't really matter.
I think the word you used there is excellent. I think that's the control part of it. The control. I mean, I don't know. As we always say, I think this is a bigger discussion than at the end of this wee pod of mine.
I did wonder at the end of the pod, we need to maybe have a wee chat about how we get people who support all the different clubs into some kind of forum that others can, you know, we can all have our say. And I mean, I think Celtic and Rangers fans will probably often like to hear what fans of other clubs have got to say about not you individuals, not the songs, the singing, all that noise that we know about, all that, just about what we think of the chance of us ever changing this, you know, because it's led from the biggest club and the second biggest club, isn't it? And watching Rangers struggle a wee bit just now is interesting for me, because I do wonder if that will help change some of the dynamic. There's only so many mugs at Ibrox who can keep paying for all of this before they have to think about alternative ways, isn't there? Food for thought.
Yeah. Like you say, I mean, I was actually just recently in my own head thinking about See, I would always want Scottish football to get better. We've spoke briefly in the past.
I'm with you.
And if Celtic weren't to win the league and you were comfortable in the knowing that Hearts, not so much for you, Hearts, Hibs, Aberdeen were ready to pick up on the slack, then it doesn't become such an obsessive thing. Knowing that you're not going to win something and Rangers are picking it up straight from you hurts, so you don't want it. So, domination of any league's wrong. It weakens the league. And don't get me wrong, I love it because I get to go to Hampden, I get to see my team, and I get to see her. But honestly, we're weakening the league, and I do understand that. The thought that Celtic...
We're not going to solve it.
No, definitely not. It's not now anyway.
No, even you and I. Just we're not going to solve it the way it is. Simple as that.
Don't think so.
So can I leave you with one thought? How many Celtic fans will turn up on Sunday? Given all your moaning about allocations at Hampden.
Honestly, right? Tickets sold will probably be a full house. Attendees, I reckon you are half the stadium.
So how does that work? Because it is like you don't get in your season ticket, do you?
No, but the way Celtic have gone now, because we do get to these cup finals and stuff, there's a thing called the home ticket cup scheme, and to get a cup final ticket, you've generally got to be on that. Or in fact, you need to be on it. So
you've meant to have attended, so you have to buy your ticket.
Yeah. So like this weekend, I'm not making the game. I'm away to Split this weekend for a wee football weekend with my mate, and obviously my ticket is there. I've just tonight somebody's going to take it off me, so my seat will be full. But I know a lot of people, even for the 22, 20, whatever it was, a lot of people just no bother. But I'd like to think it'll be more than that, but I don't know. I mean, since the fact it's Hibs, maybe I'm underselling it. Maybe 45, 50,000.
I did say that the one thing. A, because you strolled it last week, so you've got the guys that think like that. But B, I hope Hibs are one of the few teams that come to Celtic Park and folks say, well, at least they give us a game. You might beat us 6-0 like you did the other season, but at least we didn't come up and just put 10 men across the 6-yard line and stand in that. Because I didn't want to see my. I know other Hibs fans will say, "Oh, well, what's the point of going and getting pumped if we try to go at them?" But if you remember last season, or the season before, Ellie Youan get sent off for a very soft foul on one of your guys. At that point, Hibs were the better team. No, because we were a good team. Just that game, we were playing well. You know, so
as you say, a free hit as well, isn't it?
It's a free hit for us. I'll be there. I go.
Good man.
I like it, and hopefully I come home and I've got a big smile on my face, and you have another season where you didn't get the treble.
The European Cup this year. Right, Mark Strachan, once again, thank you for taking your time on Tuesday night to sit and speak to me. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Hope the season kicks on. I really do. I mean it sincerely. I hope it kicks on him. David Gray, you said it earlier on, David Gray holds a special place in my heart also. And I wish him nothing but the best. But mate, thank you very much. All right?
My pleasure. See you all on Sunday. I'll wave to my end.
Was broken. My heart was broken. You saw it. You claimed it, you touched it, you saved it. My tears are drying, my tears are drying. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. My tears are drying. My tears are drying. Your beauty and kindness made tears clear my blindness. Wild